Hey, do you like weird movies? You do? Have you heard of Vinegar Syndrome? Find them online at www.vinegarsyndrome.com. Vinegar Syndrome is one of the leading exploitation and grindhouse preservation and distribution companies in the world. They've got a simple 3-step process that I call the 3 R's: recover, restore, and release. Vinegar Syndrome has an amazingly large film archive consisting of thousands of 35 and 16 millimeter negatives and prints, and are actively finding films that are underappreciated, undervalued, and underseen. So many of their releases have never seen the light of day since VHS, and they're restoring them to all their glory. Some of these films do not have the right to look as good as they do, but they do. I'm looking at you, corpse grinders. Vinegar Syndrome has their own method of restoration where their goal is to recreate the theatrical experience as best as they can. With their own in-house lab, they scan, color grade, and restore each title personally. You'll never see any grain reduction and digital trickery on their discs. Vinegar Syndrome is a very exciting label, and we're proud to have them as a sponsor. They've been with us since the beginning, and we love them for it. Check out their website today and grab yourself a copy of Sweet Sweetback's badass song, Body Melt, Wonder Woman, Ice Cream Man, Christmas Evil, Dolomite, or my favorite, the Wisconsin Blood Trilogy of Blood Beat, Blood Hook, and the upcoming Blood Harvest. Once again, be sure to visit them at www.vinegarsyndrome.com and grab yourself something cool. Let them know your good friend Michael sent you.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am your fearless host, Michael Viers, and today it's going to be a bonus episode where I'm going to review a couple titles. It's been a little bit since I've done one, not from lack of wanting to do one. It's more so I've been putting it off. And for no particular reason. It's not that I haven't been watching stuff. It's not that I've been wanting to not release content, because that's not the case either. My podcast studio is in the upper level of my house, and the air conditioning in this area kind of sucks. So, if I have to record, I need to be up there. Or I guess I don't have to be. It's just what seems to work better because it's hooked up to my editing computer. It's where all of my mics are at. It's just easier. But it's been so stupidly hot. It's a good 5 to 10 degrees warmer upstairs. So I've just been putting it off. So today the sun's going down. It's as cool as it's probably going to get up here. So here I am. So this should show how much I love doing these episodes, the fact that I am intentionally hotboxing myself to do it. But the show must go on. I'm trying to think if anything new has come up. I'm still working on launching the Patreon. I haven't wanted to do it until it looks professional. So getting all my logos together, making sure I've got content for you guys. So it's coming. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But it will be up soon. I guess let me get straight to the titles. Today I'm going to be reviewing some Vinegar Syndrome titles, like our good old friends over at Vinegar Syndrome. We love them, you love them, everyone loves them. As you guys know, they have got the market cornered on weird cult and exploitation cinema, horror cinema, all that good shit. But what they also do really well is vintage pornography. Now, I must stress, I guess stress is the wrong word. Porn's not really my genre of film, where it's not that I necessarily don't like it. It's just not my go-to. I appreciate the history of it. There's a lot of craft that goes into it. Honestly, half the time I want more of the story And, the story in the movie is like maybe a half hour long, and then a bunch of sex scenes, and it's not my favorite stuff to review. That being said, I at least have to give Vinegar Syndrome credit, because when they do send me porn, they send me some of the most weird and interesting pornography titles that I could ever expect. So, we are going to start first with a movie by the name of MASCARA. The back of the box says, Harriet, played by Lisa de Liu. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Leeuw. Liu. Harriet, played by Lisa de Liu from the movies Dixie Ray and Hollywood Star, lives a repressed existence, working as a secretary in a Manhattan office and discovering that her boss is secretly seeing a prostitute named Lucy, played by Lee Carroll from The Seductress. Harriet works up the courage to approach her to see if she can help her overcome her inhibitions. As the two women from very different walks of life become closer and closer friends, eventually moving in together, Lucy begins to feel that she's losing her identity to Harriet's benefit. A complex psychological drama written and directed by Henri Pichard, who directed Babylon Pink. MASCARA features supporting performances from Lisa Centrise, Tiffany Clark, the one and only Ron Jeremy, Bobby Astor, and my boy, Robert Kerman, a.k.a. Arbola. Produced, photographed, and uncredited co-directed by Roberta Findlay, and scored by Walter Sear, MASCARA is an unforgettable exploration into the sexual psyche and comes to Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome, newly restored in 2K from its original negative, and featuring new interviews with Findlay, as well as co-star Lee Carroll, both moderated by historian Casey Scott. So, MASCARA. This was actually, out of the titles that I was sent, this was the one I was most excited for. I felt like the plot had the most going for it. And I'm not going to lie, I was really intrigued by the inclusion of Robert Kerman, who actually is in both this and the next one I'm going to be reviewing. Because I had unintentionally had a Robert Kerman triple feature. Because when I had gotten these titles, we had already had the Cannibal Holocaust episode on the books. So I was like, hey, this guy, Robert Kerman, he's in Cannibal Holocaust. I didn't know he did porn as well. And so, like, unintentionally, it was a Robert Kerman triple feature, which is kind of funny. You see 3 different walks of life. And I have to say, I've seen a lot of Robert Kerman's penis. Like, I don't know. I guess there's really no point in that. I just find it an amusing anecdote. So the movie is, like I said, probably the most interesting of the two, where it's got the most amount of story. What intrigued me about this was the inclusion of the uncredited Roberta Findlay as director. But then she also shot it and produced it. And so there's a lot going on with Roberta Findlay. And I was like, oh, a female directing a 70s porn. That seems kind of interesting. And I did a little bit of research, and there's a lot of people out there who consider Roberta Findlay one of the most underappreciated cinematographers in porn, because she added a humanity and realism to the subject, where with a lot of porn, it could be very over the top, high key lighting, sometimes really goofy, almost like a comedy, because I feel like a lot of porn tries that. And this one really tried to tell a story. Once again, I feel like the story is not as good as it could have been had there been less scenes of people fucking, but I digress. Lisa de Liu, who plays the character of Harriet, as they said in the back of the box, is a secretary. She's lived her life, a relatively closed up life, and then when she discovers her boss having sex with a prostitute in his office, which is really funny to me, she hits up the prostitute and be like, hey, I wanna talk with you. And the prostitute's very like standoffish and be like, hey, you don't want none of my life. What I do is not necessarily classy, it's illegal, and so on and so forth. And Harriet, being kind of a hard ass about all of this, is like, I don't care, let's talk. So Lucy invites Harriet over to her house, and Harriet opens up about the fact that she's had sex, but she hasn't had the crazy sexual encounters she wants to. And there's actually a scene near the beginning of the film where Harriet is having sex with some guy that her friend hooks her up with. And after the fact, she seems very bored and unfulfilled. So she wants to have crazy sex. And Lucy's like, well, fuck, sure, I can help you out with that. And Lucy starts hooking Harriet up with some of her clients. So Lucy's like, well, I have to do less work and I can, still get paid. Fuck yeah. So, so Harriet gets the sex, Lucy gets the money, and Harriet starts having all these crazy encounters. And then her and Lucy start becoming friends. And where I think the movie really struggles, or where I wanted to see it go. So Lucy is a woman who is very open and honest with her sex life. None of it really bothers her. Harriet's still a little closed up, even despite the fact she's had all these crazy sex scenes with people. So later on in the film, they start double teaming together and doing threesomes and all this other crazy stuff. They have a conversation. So it's late at night. Lisa needs a place to stay for the night, so she spends the night at Harriet's, and they sleep in bed together. And Harriet's very like, whoa, I'm open to all these crazy sexual things, but I don't know if I could ever be with a woman. And Lucy's mentioned the fact that I've done this before. It's part of it. And Harriet's like, I don't think I'm cool with that. And they have this interesting conversation amongst each other about love and sex and a potential same-sex relationship, and Harriet's very standoffish about it and is not down with it. And then Lucy makes a move, and then it gets awkward. They stop, and then they go to bed. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe Harriet hasn't been fulfilled because she doesn't realize that she's not as interested in men as she thought. And maybe having sex with a woman will be what excites her again.
Hey, can I sleep over? Lucy, I don't think I'm ready for that. I'm sleeping with another woman. I don't want to fuck you. I just want to sleep over, for crying out loud. Well, sure, you can sleep over. What do you think I am, some dyke rapist pervert? Of course not, but you do sleep with other women. I have sex with everybody. That's what I do for a living. Which side do I sleep on? On the door. You get it on with those two guys because it's an adventure. Big fucking deal. Try it sometime when you don't expect it. Try it when you think you're turning a quick trick on a middle-class commuter. And he's got a friend as a little surprise. And you're so fucking scared you can't even keep saliva in your mouth.
And unfortunately, that's not where the movie goes. It kind of then picks up speed, and the final scene, our final sex scene, so the climax, pun intended, is Harriet having this BDSM relationship with a mistress and her husband, and it's really intense. And after that scene, she's very disillusioned, and she gets on the train, and she goes to takes a train to leave. Sorry, I guess I'm not explaining this plot very well, because she finds out that Lucy had actually skipped town and went to go stay with some other people in another state. And you get the feeling that Harriet's chasing after Lucy, but how the final scene works out is Harriet's on a train leaving, and Lucy gets out of a cab and chases down her train and is calling for her, and Harriet has a smile on her face when she sees her, and it's a freeze frame. It's very confusing because theoretically, if Lucy's the one who's left or leaving, you'd think it'd be Harriet chasing Lucy and almost admitting that, yes, I want something between us. I want to give this a try. But that's not how it plays out. There's quite a few scenes of Harriet kind of for lack of a better term, internally thinking and trying to figure out her life. Like there's a scene with her in a limo right after one of her encounters, and she's just staring off in the distance and longing. And there's these really interesting introspective scenes. I just feel like whatever message they were trying to add in this film, I know a message in a porn, whoa, that's kind of a weird territory, but I feel like Roberta Findlay had something she wanted to say, and I feel like with a couple of revisions it could have gotten there. It could have been a very interesting porno that made you think as well as come. I do have to say the cinematography was really interesting. It felt very much like a low-budget 70s drama shot on the mean streets of New York, which I really appreciated. The score is surprisingly science fiction-y and weird. And that all adds to the strange appeal of this film. I don't know how often I'm going to go back to MASCARA. It's just not really my genre. But out of some of the X-rated films that Vinegar Syndrome has sent me, this one has definitely seemed the most interesting. So if you're a fan of classic vintage porn, this might appeal to you. And I know some people are more into softcore porn. Some people are more into hardcore porn. This is a hardcore pornography. Lots of intense close-ups of, to quote Supervad, P going into V. Close-ups of cum shots. It's crazy. I found this out when I did my review of Her Name is Lisa. I was actually surprised by how crazy the 70s porn was. Because when I was a kid, and there was the Playboy channel. That was my first view into porn, with crazy, weird music, and everything was shot kind of like a 90s drama. You didn't actually see anything but tits. And I just figured, oh, that's just what old porn is like. No, this porn is really filthy. Really filthy. So, the clarity on this is a fantastic looking Blu-ray. And I will say, the clarity on this, if, I'm not saying anyone does, if someone would have had an STD, you could have seen it. It's insane. So the special features on the disc include a newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm original camera negative. This is what really intrigues me about this disc. And I didn't know I wanted a commentary track on a porn, but there's a commentary track with producer, cinematographer, and co-director Roberta Findlay.
My one is, both Walter and myself were so naive.
Yeah.
We didn't belong in this business at all. And as far as drugs were concerned, I know about aspirin. We had no idea.
Yeah.
No concept. Why we went to we hired Shauna Grant for a photo shoot in California, and she was 8 hours late.
Wow. A full day. It's a full work day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she kept going into the bathroom. I said, well, why does she keep going into the bathroom for?
Yeah.
She's sick.
I know.
And we didn't know. We had no clue.
Wow.
Nothing. Or Holmes, John Holmes. Walter said, I think he's a nice boy. He drinks milk all day.
But that's interesting because, there isn't any drug use in your films, really. Because it's just not something that you
we were not familiar with.
Right.
Ever, at all.
Right. And there's nothing particularly kinky in your films either. Definitely not like Ron, where he throws just whatever he wants.
Very naive.
Yeah.
And in New York at that time, in the 80s anyway, Ron, everybody was smelling this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen it. Well, I think I saw it because Ron showed it to me.
Oh, God.
But I've had marijuana once. Well, I thought I was having a brain hemorrhage, so that was...
Oh, God. So that was a bad reaction, then.
I might have to rewatch this film a second time just so I can listen to a porno commentary track. Then there's also a feature-length audio interview with actress Lee Carroll, script gallery, which was fascinating. I have never read a script for porn. It makes sense there'd be a script. I just never thought about it. And I have to say, this film was written with a really sensitive touch, where even when they're describing the sex scenes, it very much felt like, while they're going into detail, and it's crazy how much detail they go into, I just figured porn stars were just making it up as they went. No, every position change to cum shot is meticulously planned. So that was interesting, and the script is actually pretty well written. Like, there's a sense of touch to the script. Original theatrical trailer, which is filthy. Porn trailers are funny. It's essentially what you'd find on Pornhub now. It's just close up, close up, close up, close up, close up, close up, close up. So yeah, reversible cover artwork and English subtitles, which I don't know why that amuses me. The film was from 1983. It's 83 minutes in color, 1851 widescreen, DTS HD mono soundtrack. So that's MASCARA. The next title, another porn, is from director Roger Watkins, who directed Her Name is Lisa, which I have also reviewed on this show, which I was not a huge fan of. And I guess going back to Her Name was Lisa, the reason I wasn't a fan was not because it wasn't a well-made porno. It's just the story that was described on the back was better than the movie. But his film, which, while I preferred MASCARA, I think The Pink Ladies might be the crowd pleaser. So the next film was called The Pink Lady. Sorry, I did a terrible job at that. The second hardcore directorial effort from exploitation filmmaker Roger Watkins, The Pink Ladies, follows the lives and fantasies of 4 Long Island housewives and their husbands and their lovers. As fantasy and reality collide, the Pink Ladies are whisked into an ever stranger sensual dream world where secret desires and secret lovers intermix, leading to surprise revelations for all. Mixing light comedy with touches of low-key surrealism, director Roger Watkins weaves a sensual tableau that simultaneously satirizes suburban sexual mores while exploring the hidden pleasures that even the most seemingly chaste housewives and businessmen can't help but enjoy, with an all-star cast of Samantha Fox from Her Name is Lisa, Robin Bird from The Robin Bird Show, Christine DeSchaeffer from Fantasy Comes Again, Candy Barber from Ultra Flesh, and my boy Robert Kerman from Cannibal Holocaust. That's actually on the back of the box, which is stupidly funny. And Vanessa Del Rio from The Dancers. Vinegar Syndrome brings this underseen X-rated rarity to Blu-ray, newly restored in 2K from its original camera negative and fully uncut. So I didn't like The Pink Ladies as much as I did MASCARA from a story standpoint, but I will say the first 10, maybe 15 minutes of this movie is pure fucking gold. It's hysterical, it's goofy. It opens up with these housewives who I guess you'd refer to as the Pink Ladies playing racquetball. And it's just these crazy intercut sequence of them all playing racquetball. Some are good, some are bad. Sorry, my mistake. They're actually playing tennis. They're playing tennis, and it's got this really groovy music playing, and it's doing this very fast-paced cutting, and it makes it really funny and amusing. And this, I guess, tennis coach is watching them, fantasizing about them, and just the way they shoot him, and then it cuts to his fantasy, and they're all naked still playing tennis, and it zooms in on him standing there like a fucking Greek god. It's got the set reminds me a lot of like a movie like Heathers. It's just off the wall and funny. And I will say this film gets a lot of credit for its creativity, because the issue with a lot of porn is some of them try too hard to add story or too much story. And the issue with that is you can never effectively tell that story because you have these sex scenes you have to throw in. So, what this movie does is it uses the conceit that everyone's got their sexual fantasy. And instead of really trying to tell a story, it goes to every character and plays out their sexual fantasy. So it can get super weird and strange, and that makes it weirdly appealing. So like you get the tennis coach's sexual desire, and that's to have all these women going crazy on him. You get, and then you also get all their husbands' sexual desires. One of the women has this. Her husband's falling asleep, and she's up late watching a movie, and it's about a festival or a fair, and then her sexual fantasy involves like these guys dressed up in circus makeup, and Ron Jeremy's in the scene too, just blowing himself, which is hysterical. Another woman has a fantasy while working out that all the exercise machines turn into men, so the guys are actually painted the color of their exercise machines, and it's very weird seeing people painted weird colors, and their private parts are also painted. So there's a guy who's painted completely blue having sex with a girl who's painted green. All the colors mix, and it's kind of gross and sweaty and strange. Robert Kerman looks very much like he did in Cannibal Holocaust, where he's lost a little bit of weight. He's got his amazing porno mustache, and he's like the poor man's Richard Dreyfuss, and his fantasy is like a classroom setting. And then one guy's fantasy is like to be dominated. They all have these crazy fantasies. Oh, and the guy whose fantasy is about being dominated was made even more weird and interesting because it was scored by Iggy Pop's Sister Midnight. When the music started, I was like, "Hey, I know this song." And then I was like, "Oh, I think this is Sister Midnight." I was like, oh, it's probably an instrumental version or something. No, Iggy Pop's vocals came in, and it was the full-on version of Sister Midnight. And I was like, how the fuck did this porn and then Vinegar Syndrome get the rights to Sister Midnight? It was insane. I'm getting the most excited about this film. Like I said, I liked MASCARA better from a story standpoint, but I think this film was more interesting. So I guess I recommend them both. And the film all leads to these prissy Long Island housewives who plan all their days together, and you can tell they don't really like each other, and tensions are high, and they're making fun of this other girl who's part of their group who's kind of dumb, and she's really the comedic relief. All their husbands are dreaming about having sex with other people, and it's honestly comedy gold. I don't know if the movie's necessarily sexy, but it's really funny. I feel like if you were to, sometimes I wish Vinegar Syndrome, if you're listening, I wish you would you'd add a version of the film on here that removed all the sex, just so I could watch and appreciate how goofy the non-sex scenes are, because there's scenes in this movie that would kill, and I'd love to show people, but I don't really want to watch a porn with a group of people. That's just awkward. And then once again, like I said in the last one, the movie's filthy. Lots of close-ups, lots of cum shots, lots of all the gross stuff that makes porn what it is. It's not softcore at all. Performances or whatever. The movie, some are better than others. The movie is shot pretty well. It's super surreal and goofy. I think the cinematography in MASCARA is better based on my sensibility and what I like, how movies are shot. But The Pink Ladies has a very surrealistic tone to it, which I appreciated. In terms of special features, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its 35mm camera negative. There's a video interview of actor John A. Mazur, a.k.a. Alan Adrian. A video interview with Watkins' historian and friend Art Edinger. I haven't watched that yet, but I watched one of the Art Edinger interviews, I believe Her name is Lisa. And the guy's got a lot of information. He's a little dry, but if you're interested in the weird life that is Roger Watkins, from where he started out making exploitation horror films to porn, he's definitely the guy to go to. Production stills gallery, script and shooting schedule gallery. So once again, I got to read another script and how of a porno. This one is written just as sleazy as you imagine a porno to be written, which is also kind of great. I love that MASCARA's script was written like an actual film with sex. I love that this one is written exactly like you'd imagine a porn to be written. So that was kind of great. Original theatrical trailer, which is also filthy. Reversible cover artwork, English SGH subtitles. The film was made in 1979, 77 minutes, in color, 1851 widescreen, DTS HD mono soundtrack, The Pink Ladies. Like I said, I'm not a huge connoisseur of the porno genre. Nothing against it. The history of it fascinates me. So, like I said, nothing against it at all. But fans of the genre, I think, should definitely pick these up. These are, heck, if a guy like me who's not super into just, I'm bored, let's just watch some porn, could get into these, I think that says something about them. So, yeah, that's my episode this week, guys. It's shorty, but it's a goodie. If this is going to do anything like our Her Name is Lisa episode, it's going to be pretty stellar. As I mentioned before, Patreon's on its way. It'll get done. I just don't want to. I don't like releasing things prematurely. I do have some Mill Creek episodes coming up. Fun fact: I've seen the Karate Kid, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid. Mill Creek sent me Karate Kid 3 and The Next Karate Kid, which I did see. I grew up with The Next Karate Kid, and while I know everyone hates it and it's not supposed to be a good movie, I loved it as a kid. That was my Karate Kid. But since I've never seen 2 or 3, me and Amanda are watching back through The Karate Kid. And I just finished the first one, and I will say I'm surprised it had 3 sequels. Nothing against The Karate Kid. It's not a bad movie. I just don't think it's a great movie. It's a little long. Some of the issue, like the character issues, I think are kind of dumb. But it's not a bad movie. I really enjoyed it, but it doesn't hold a candle to Rocky, which is made by the same director. We're going to be going into Karate Kid 2 and then 3, and then eventually the next Karate Kid. So down the line, there'll be some Karate Kid reviews. And then I want to work my way through. I want to watch Metropolis, and then I want to work my way through some more spaghetti westerns. Currently, I am watching Django Shoots Again. So that's it, guys. As always, rate, review, subscribe. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Libsyn, pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. We are out there. I love and appreciate your support. If there's anything special you guys want us to talk about, let me know, and maybe that'll happen. So have a good one, guys. Thanks a lot.